Hey there, hope everyone's having an amazing day. And we'll give people a minute or two to log in here to the webinar. Hope you guys are enjoying the weather. It is perfect temperature here in Rochester, about, what is it, 75? And our local tennis club where we play tennis, there's something like 23 clay courts, which is really unusual for a tennis place in Rochester. You would think they'd have a bunch of indoor sort of tennis courts because of the weather, the winter weather here. But so it's really unusual. And the great thing about that is once a year, the third level down of the pros. So they're it's called the Futures Tournament. So there's Futures. Then above that is called the oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Anyway, it's kind of like the farm teams of baseball and hockey. So these are the up and coming top pros. And anyway, there's a futures circuit. It's like, quite literally called the Futures because this is the future of tennis. These are, young, tennis geniuses or phenoms or just people that are kind of grinding it out that are off from, Division I college tennis that are trying to see if they can make any headway with their ATP points. And so there is just some top pros that have been part of this Futures Tour that in 3-4 years, they're like known names in the tennis world. Anyway, once a year they come to our tennis club because of the size of it and the uniqueness of it in upstate New York. And they, fight it out to win the Futures thing. So anyway, it's quite exciting this week at the tennis club. So probably a bit later on, I'll be heading up there to see how it's really played. Anyway, hope you guys are doing great. It is, as I said, perfect temperature here, sunny 75. Hope it's, equally nice for you guys. We get some notes from you guys, and I keep saying this. I'm not sure what's going on with you guys, but it seems like you guys are just killing it out there. And we just keep getting more and more of these messages and notes, and it's just fantastic to hear. And so keep on kicking butt. I'm super pumped about Prime Day here. That's right around the corner. That's a fantastic way to raise cash, of course, for the holiday reorders, which is scary we even have to think about. But yeah, you really want to start negotiating and placing that order by the end of July at the latest to have it arrive during the busy peak season into the ports here. And of course, things are, Trump's keeping us on our toes with potential tariffs. And we can talk about that later if you want my view on that. I'm not concerned at all. But anyway, that's my little preamble to allow people to log in here. I hope you guys are doing great. Let's see if people are alive out there. How you doing, Nicholas? And if you can hear me and see my screen, please go ahead and type hello. And yeah, so let's get right to it. You guys know the drill here. We bounce back and forth between the pre-submitted questions, which I try to get to all of those, and then the chat box, which is more in real time. And I want to give you the quote of the month here, okay? From the book Deep Work that I mentioned on my presentation. That it looks like Victor liked that presentation a lot. Yeah, you should, because it's a real breakthrough, I believe, in the way that entrepreneurs should be tackling their time, especially Amazon entrepreneurs, because we have a really unique business structure where we don't have to make appointments with clients. We don't have to have a brick and mortar place where there's a constant stream of interruption. We are uniquely suited, all of us, for the 72-hour work week and for the principles that Cal Newport talks about in his book, Deep Work, which I recommend that you all read. Anyway, here's a quote I want to give you guys and we'll kind of ruminate on this today. He writes, "Don't take breaks from distraction. Instead, take breaks from focus." There's a great quote, or I think it's an excerpt from an interview from NPR. There's a late Stanford communications professor who was well known for their study of behavior. And so basically, this guy, Clifford Nass, he did some research that revealed that constant attention switching, meaning like bouncing back and forth from one project to another and then back, and then jumping to checking your emails and then back to a different project, and then dealing with your wife's request and then bouncing back, and all that kind of attention switching has a lasting negative impact, a really bad negative impact on your brain, because it literally reconditions you behaviorally to think in terms of a constant stream of interruption, i.e. you can't really concentrate anymore for long periods of time. That's a major, major issue. And so it literally is a negative rewiring of their brain. And so on this NPR interview, the interviewer asked the Stanford professor whether the chronically distracted was part of the rewiring of the brains. And he wrote, the people we talk with continually said, look, when I really have to concentrate, I turn off everything and I get laser focused. And unfortunately, they have developed habits of mind that make it impossible for them to be laser focused. Quote, they're suckers for irrelevancy. They just can't keep on task. So one of the solutions that Cal talks about in deep work is don't take break from a distraction, instead take breaks from focus. Like in other words, there's a concept called the internet Sabbath that a lot of bloggers have written about. This is where they unplug from Facebook, Twitter, email for 1 day a week, et cetera, et cetera. But he proposes an alternative to that sort of approach, which is just tends to be one-off. You only kind of sustain it for a couple weeks or a month, and then you're back to, kind of, distraction as usual. He says instead of scheduling this sort of break from distraction, like, hey, I'll take 1 day a week off from email. He said, don't do that. Instead, schedule the occasional break from focus to give into distraction. So like, in other words, I mentioned this on my webinar presentation, but his great idea is, okay, how often when you're trying to focus on something really important for your Amazon business, whether you're doing pigs and hops, let's just say, or you're setting up a sponsored ads campaign, and then later on you have to do the pruning and expansion. And you know that you need to focus, you get way better results if you focus. And great things would happen if you could just sit there and not check your email when you get the slightest itch of boredom from doing that. And yet, we all tend to do that, don't we? Right? And he says that rather than, denying yourself from checking those things, because at some level it must give us pleasure, instead predetermine and write down when you're going to allow yourself to break from that deep work and actually just quickly check email, make sure that your Amazon business is still alive and well, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a big change. Now we're very conscious about scheduling the quote unquote shallow work. So this should be, again, in your mind, even before you start that day, you're like, okay, for 2 hours between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., I'm going to do a deep dive of pigs and hops. And I'm not going to check email. I'm not going to do anything. And then you grab a piece of paper, or in my case, I have this journal, and I'm going to write down 10 a.m. internet. That's when I'm going to allow myself, after 2 hours of focus time, to check in and see emails or whatever. I can go longer. I do tend to go longer than that. And when I'm doing deep work, and this is the term I'm using now after I'm reading the book, because I'm trying to get it into all of your vernacular. But prior to reading the book, I would do this as well, where you literally have to close your email client, close Skype, close Convo, etc., because this is like $1,000 per hour work you're doing, or $10,000 per hour work. I say $10,000 per hour work, and new entrepreneurs, their brains explode. Ben, there's no way I'm doing $10,000 per hour work. Oh, really? Well, let me put it this way to you. If it takes you an hour of focus work to identify a great product opportunity using my revised pigs and hops, right? Is that not minimum $10,000 per hour activity? Yeah, if you're adhering to my protocols, that's a minimum 10,000 per month activity. So don't dare tell me that you don't know and you don't have any activities that can average you that kind of money. So what's more important? Checking your damn Facebook group while you're right in the middle of potentially finding your next gold mine, or uncovering the gold mine using pigs and hops. I mean, it's obvious when I say it that way, but my God, don't we allow all this shallow, low dollar per hour crap to get in our way. And I'm going to make the argument, because I've been there. Look, I'm just like you guys. I've been there, that we have allowed this to creep up on us over time, especially the older generation, right? We didn't start out with smartphones. So don't tell me that you can't live without it. You didn't have it. It wasn't invented. Same with, Google search, et cetera, et cetera. So, and somehow, this country, USA, I know there's lots of people that sign in from all around the world that are part of Fast Track, but somehow this country became an economic juggernaut without that crap getting in our way. So don't tell me it's necessary, you can't live without it, yada, yada, yada. It just is a lie. It's a lie that you tell yourself because you get bored. When you're standing in line at Starbucks, you get bored. When you're having to focus too long, you get the addictive itch, right? And I can pontificate because I've been there. I totally get it, right? I totally get it. We justify it. Well, I want to stay up on top of my emails, and I'm just standing in line, so why not just knock out some emails? The problem is that it invades your brain and your focus. What you should be doing in that Starbucks line, or when you're out taking a walk, or etc., is practicing focus and concentration. Mull over $1,000 per hour problem or strategy in your mind. That will make you far more money while you're standing in Starbucks. Literally practice being bored without having to hold a freaking device in your hand 24/7, right? Yeah, so it's a great book. And so if you haven't started to schedule time when, again, don't schedule a time away from distraction, schedule time away from focus, and just be aware and conscious of it. And I think it'll have a huge, huge impact on you. I mean, the classic thing is you're in the middle of vital, important work, something from Fast Track. You're averaging $10,000 per hour in value, or probably more, frankly. And then all of a sudden, you're just gonna real quick, because you get the itch, you just have to check your email. But then I swear I'm not gonna like do a deep dive. I just want to, I'm just curious. I want to take a quick look. Oh, okay, you're just curious. And then you see that like alarming subject line or seller performances email, and guess what? I've lost you. You're no longer doing that deep work. You don't have the emotional energy. Those octopus, tentacles are now dipped into your brain and distracting you. Okay. So, all right. So hope everybody's doing fantastic. And let's get to the Q&A section here, shall we? Let me just bounce out of this right here. And what's up, Rennie? What's up, Victor? And go ahead and type in the chat box here if you have any questions. And I will go as long as we have questions. And if we don't have any questions, it's going to be a short day for me. I'll go watch tennis. Okay. So Lauren Leon submitted a question, Lauren from New York, and he wrote NDA. So NDA just means non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Ben, do you recommend any resources or templates for a non-disclosure agreement for factories and suppliers located in China and elsewhere? I don't have one. For China, they're useless. In fact, going back to Trump, this is what the quote unquote trade war, it's not a trade war really, it's just a negotiation. He is the negotiator in chief for America, right? He's a great negotiator. And so what he's doing is, and it just cracks me up how the media gets him so wrong. One of the first books I read was called The Art of the Deal in the early 1990s. It's right there. He spells out specifically exactly how he negotiates. And like people are miffed and confused, and it just cracks me up. I'm like, is nobody doing their homework? Even I know this. I'm not a reporter for CNN. So who knows what's going to happen. And again, I'm not political. I'm not either Republican or Democrat. I'm just happy we have a CEO, like an entrepreneur in there, because it's if you're in business, it serves your interest, as you can see by the economy and the enthusiasm. I mean, again, this is not a political thing, and he's not perfect and all that stuff. I get it. I'm just saying, strictly from a business standpoint, he's kicking ass, right? And it makes sense. He's acting like an entrepreneur, which again freaks out the mediocre majority. They don't get entrepreneurial behavior. You understand that, right? We are freaks to those that live in cubicles and work for the government and have nice, safe, cushy jobs and like librarians. We are the antithesis of that. That scares the shit out of people, what we do as entrepreneurs. And so this is why I say that we are all such great kindred spirits here in this industry. I mean, I love my fast track clients because, right, it's like you got to be um, such a unique type of individual to put up with the struggle of being an entrepreneur. Uh, I'm convinced that to be one of the world's best CEOs, you actually have to be one of the world's best problem solvers. Because really, isn't it true that really all that we get thrown in our laps is a nonstop stream of problems, and it can stress you out, it can make you have a meltdown. But as you get better as an entrepreneur, you realize that, oh, uh, you know, there's only so many things that I should really be freaking out over. This is not one of them. So what are like the 10 creative solutions or the 10 possibilities to solve this problem? And then you just tackle it. Somebody once said, this is not my quote, but they said that the great thing about becoming a millionaire is not the $1 million. It's the person that you had to become to make that $1 million. Isn't that true? Boy, that is so true. And so, you know, some of my favorite people that I meet are entrepreneurs. It's funny how we just gravitate naturally towards each other like magnets. I can be at a party and there can be 60 people in that party, and within half an hour, somehow the two entrepreneurs are in a corner. You just see it in the eyes. You know, they just talk differently, right? They just think differently. So going back to the trade war thing, it's really not about tariffs. It's about China's theft of our intellectual property. So don't kid yourself. You can have the world's greatest NDA that you have the factory sign. They will laugh behind your back because it's not enforceable in China. And that's really what this trade war is about, just so you guys know, you know, because I do study the business side of politics, so I can share these insights with you. It helps me guide my business as well. It's not about throwing a tariff on my private label product, right? Trump, China, the US, they don't care about us, right? They don't care about us. They're trying to protect big business, and the real issue is intellectual property. And there's a reason why Canada, Mexico, Europe, they're quietly standing behind Trump, not really publicly, but like, have you noticed they're not slamming Trump's behavior on this in the media, at least with China? You know, they, I mean, of course they're gonna say, hey, he's threatening us with tariffs, but because the Chinese steal everybody's intellectual property, whether you're from Australia, Germany, Canada, or the US, and that's got to stop. You just got to stop. So don't bother with an NDA. You can do it in the States because we do have intellectual property rights here. Now, as far as templates, no. If you're going to do a supplier type NDA, and by the way, I would argue, do you really have that much of a unique angle that you would even need an NDA? Because in most cases, if you are concerned about somebody ripping you off, you wouldn't get an NDA, because in most cases, at least on the commerce side, they're not worth the paper that they're written on. It's arguable if they're like enforceable, like you're talking about. Instead, the protections you'd go for would be a patent or a design patent. I think that's really what you need. You don't need an NDA, but you need a design patent or a patent. And you can get a patent in China. And then there's something, well, it's not called a worldwide patent, but that's basically what it is. And again, you know, any patent or trademark attorney can help you get this. What the worldwide patent and or trademark allows you to do is this way. Look, it'd be very onerous and very expensive to go through the process of a trademark in the US, and then have to do it all over again in Canada and then in Europe. So I believe it's Australia, New Zealand, the EU, Canada, and the USA. They have some like, you know, relationships set up so that you can apply for like a worldwide trademark or a worldwide patent. Again, I don't give legal advice, okay? So you just have to talk to somebody about that, but it's not that much more. So I think that's really what you need. You don't need like a written NDA. But as far as like an NDA with a Chinese factory, forget it. They'll go, oh, sure, we'll sign it because it's not enforceable. All right. Interesting question, though. All right. Let's see if we have any. Okay, so Dr. Durham has a question about the AMZ Launchpad contest funnel. Is a contest funnel still the best way to do giveaways? I love it. Yeah, I love it because everybody likes to win stuff, right? And there's also a viral component. It's funny, and Dr. Durham, this will crack you up, but you guys know when I teach my stuff, like how to rank and these funnels that I release, I typically will take a screenshot of like a dummy Facebook fan page that I have, just so I can let you see and kind of visualize what the Facebook ad would look like without revealing my actual brands and my deal club and stuff like that. So I have 2 or 3 of these kind of dummy like Facebook fan pages. I don't know how these people in the public find these pages, but whenever I post one of these, contest giveaway things, I get all these people, sometimes hundreds of people that are trying to like click the link. What's a dummy link? Hey, your link's not working, blah, blah, blah. They're private messaging us. And sometimes we get messages like 6, 7, 8 months later. And I just smile because it just shows you how effective this is. The unwashed masses love free stuff. They love deep discount as well. But yeah, the contest funnel is great, but also just giving just a deep discount on an Amazon product just to get their opt-in and then, take them through the ranking voodoo and the AMZ Launchpad works killer. Because I always joke, you guys have heard me say this 1,000 times, the biggest objection I get to those funnels is never the consumers. They freaking love them. They can't get enough of them. The biggest objection I get is from you guys, not you, Dr. Durham, but I'm just saying like people that are newer to this. And I'm like, really? Ask your sister or brother, hey, if you saw and heard that a top-rated Amazon seller was giving away a teapot for 98% off, would you be interested even if you didn't need a freaking teapot? Yeah. Like, how can I get that? Right? That's the reaction. But the Amazon sellers, because they're so close, they go, well, why would somebody do that? Well, what do you think? They want free stuff, right? So yeah, the contest funnel works great. Just the standard AMZ Launchpad templates work phenomenal. We have the Pulse linker, which is Ninja. We have all that ranking voodoo in there. So absolutely go for it. But don't get stuck on like, which of the AMZ Launchpad funnels is best. They all work. I love the contest funnel though for the viral nature because that has a share aspect to it, and it gets the easy opt-in. And when you combine that with oh gosh, I'm blanking. What's the up viral, you can get a lot of extra leads, and it really lowers your Facebook per lead cost, right? And the great thing about when you run one of those promos is even if you hate Facebook ads, you only have to do it once or for a short duration because you're going to get so many leads that you probably never have to run another Facebook ad again because you're going to have 500, 600, 700 leads, most likely if you do it right, the way I teach. And then you just go back to the well and say, hey, we have this other great top Amazon manufacturer, and look for the offer tomorrow. I'll send you the email. It's going to be a yada yada at yada yada % off. Isn't this great? That kind of thing. And then you literally start to condition them. Now, especially when you limit things, which the Launchpad does automatically, as you know, Dr. Durham, it conditions them to act now with scarcity and urgency and competition. Every time we've ever sent out an email to our Launchpad deal club members, they freak out because there's always hundreds of people that miss out on these deals. What do you think that does? It conditions them. The moment we send out emails, they're reading it because they know that there's scarcity. So it works really, really well. It's a great question. Bill said here. I'm gonna bring up my writing pads here, not just staring at the screen that says Q&A session here. Let's do this, and we're gonna write Q&A. This is Bill. So Bill wrote, just got a patent infringement violation from Amazon, and just emailed the holder of the patent. He just said his lawyer would contact us. What are our options for dealing with this? Okay. So I got probably three times, again, this is just from memory, maybe 4 times, Amazon kept shutting down our listing because they said, oh, so-and-so said that you are infringing on their patent. And it was total bullshit. I know because I had asked our Chinese manufacturer to send me a copy of their worldwide patent that they had, and I had it. And so we showed Amazon, and they would reinstate us. The same person would then send another email, and then another email. Well, I did some research, and first of all, they weren't even using like a company email. It was an unbranded email, just some free email service in Asia or something. And it was clear it was just total bullshit. And then they just finally went away. But this is not uncommon. So first of all, like before you hit the panic button, Bill, and I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying before you get too concerned, take a look at the sender of that email, okay? Because when it comes from Amazon, it'll be usually a short email, something like your listing has been temporarily suspended or suppressed because the following person has submitted a patent infringement, and then it'll put the person's email address. Well, look at that email address. If it's something like, joeblow782@qmail.com, and you look up QMail, and it'll say, oh, the world's, Asia's biggest free email service. It's bullshit, right? The second thing, and it might not be bullshit, but the second thing to do is to contact your manufacturer urgently, tell them that somebody's claiming that there's a patent infringement and that you need to see a copy of their patent, or can they get you a copy of the patent or the paperwork that shows that you as a factory are authorized to private label this. And they, more often than not, they will send you something. Now, if they don't have anything for you, which might be the case, then you, again, you will need to get the details from this person's attorney, and you cannot do this yourself. You need to reach out today to, I'm assuming that you're in or near a big city. Like by big city, I mean like Omaha, Rochester. I don't mean like New York City necessarily, but find an experienced specialist in patent and trademark. You don't want like a guy who is in a town of 300 who does divorce, he does wills, he does real estate closings, and he or she also does whatever the hell you want. Because I want somebody experienced that can give me good advice. So you want the specialist, you don't want the generalist, okay? And then you're just going to walk them through what's happened and assess the situation, okay? Now, in a different scenario, we had a product where the factory told us that this was not a patented product, and the factory lied to us. And we got a patent infringement email. We contacted the lawyer, and they actually just used the lawyer's email as the point of contact. And we just explained, and we just told them the truth. And then, now by we, I mean the attorney that I hired. And then the attorney said, or said, okay, so we will destroy this inventory. We promise not to sell again. And will you waive any rights you have to go after us, in so many words? And they consented and agreed. So it becomes kind of like a mini negotiation. All right. So this is just business. No one's going to show up and throw you in shackles. So just tackle this as a business and as a negotiation. Make sure that If you need to get your specialist, make sure that you get your specialist. Now, if it were me, I would, even if it is like some bogus claim, I would contact a patent trademark attorney now anyway, because you will need them in the future. If you go for brand registry, you'll need a trademark. You might just have general issues that come up as you expand your business, blah, 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 blah. All right. So Bill, I'm certain it'll all work out. And I know it's, it tends to kind of freak you out when you get like a legal notice like that. But go down those roads that I gave you. And first and foremost, just make sure it's even a legit claim. Okay. Rennie said he was he was laughing from my previous comment. He said, "That's hilarious. My entire working career has been in a library and working for the government." So Rennie did both, and what you said is so true, and that's exactly why I'm here. Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, you know, when you were working for the library and for the government, they probably looked at you funny and said, "He doesn't really fit here. He's really not one of us. We better put him in the entrepreneur space because that's where Rennie belongs." Okay, so I got a question from Tim. So I'm going to wipe this and we'll write down Tim. How you doing, Tim? Tim D. And Tim wrote, for the sponsored products ad campaign for Prime Day. Okay, yep. Do you recommend one campaign per product? Let's see, one campaign per product. Well, hold on a second. Let me just show you the setup here, okay? I just want to make sure we're on the same page, okay? Let me just bring this up. 1 second. I just get really nervous by the verbiage sometimes. I just want to make sure that that when I say something, that is clear here. Okay. So you might remember this SOP. So when you say, do you recommend one campaign per product? Well, yes, it's technically one campaign per product, but within that one campaign, you are doing exact, phrase, and broad. I know it's a nuance, but I want you to be successful. That's why I'm being super anal retentive. So it's one. So let's say you have a dog leash. You're going to make one campaign that you're going to call Prime. Okay, let's say the yoga mat. Prime Day Yoga Mat, July 2018. Okay, so this is your campaign, your one campaign. But within that one campaign, step 2 is you're going to dump in those keywords and then select broad, add them, dump in the same keywords, then change this thing right here. Change this thing right here to then phrase, click add these keywords, and then dump these same keywords in again a third time and make them exact, add these keywords. So you have one campaign per product with the 3 different match types. And it's ridiculous that Amazon doesn't just give you a checkbox here so you can just dump the keywords in one time and go, let's see, yes, I want broad, phrase, exact. Whoops, broad, phrase, exact. So they make you just do it 3 times. Does that make sense? And then in the campaign, he writes, do you load all the Prime Day search terms, not keywords? Ooh, you're making me nervous here. So do I load the Prime Day search term? Well, search terms and keywords are the same. Okay. Now, maybe you mean, or maybe you're trying to differentiate search terms from your product search terms or for your product keywords. So, so he wants to know, do I convert search terms? Do I convert some of your Prime Day, keywords here and make them more niched for the product? Yeah, you do. You do. So let me here, and I have this on the spreadsheet that I provided. I'll just point it out to you again here, just so you know and understand here. So again, underneath the webinar replay we provided, let me blow this up so you can see it a bit more. See where it says, like here, let me just bold this one. See where this one says Prime Day, yada, yada keyword? That's where you do it. So if you had, like the way I would do it is, so you have open Prime Day keywords, and then also open up your product keyword spreadsheet, you know, where it says major, minor, brands, misspellings, that thing. So have that open in a tab here, okay? And then I would take at least my major keywords. So like you would say, let's just pretend it's a dog leash. So I'm looking at my keyword research here. I have my Prime Day keywords here that I just provided this month. And I would look at my major keywords. And it's going to say things like dog leash, retractable dog leash for large dogs, etc., right? Any relevant ones, at least in my majors and maybe some of my minors, is I would put here. So it'd be Prime Day Deals 2018 dog leash, Prime Day Deals 2018 retractable dog leash, Prime Day Deals 2018 dog leash for large dogs. So that's what I meant when I put this little like thing that says keyword. And then there's another one that's kind of the same deal. Prime Day Sale 2018 dog leash, Prime Day Sale 2018 retractable dog leash, blah, 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 blah. This one, it really depends on the niche. If you have a product that has an identifiable audience, then you can do that. It's kind of like, this is akin to the holiday keywords that I load around the holidays, where people are searching for, like, you know, best gift for boss, best gift for sister, best gift for brother, best gift for wine lovers, best gift for golf lovers, you know, blah, 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 blah. So if you have a product that kind of fits into that mold, then you'd use that one, like blank deals on Prime Day, okay? And so wherever you see this little kind of like token here, that's where you can add variations of it. So deals of the day in everything Prime under 30, and another one under 20, etc. You know, whatever's applicable for your product. Does that make sense? I hope that answers your question here. Alan says, what % for deep discount do you recommend? Alan, are we talking for the Launchpad? Bill wrote, so going back to Bill with his patent issue, he thought it was phony also, but he found the actual patent with the guy's name on it. Okay, so yeah, so I would just, you know, again, I would just look at this as a negotiation, and I found, at least personally, that they just want you not to sell their product. They're not going to go after you, right? I mean, frankly, they have bigger fish to fry. If it was like Williams Sonoma that had ripped off their design and were selling it in a retail store and made millions of dollars, yeah, they're going to sue them personally and all that kind of stuff. But in the vast majority of cases, especially when the patent owner contacts you and not the attorney, they just want you the hell off of Amazon for that product, okay? So just be respectful, be very professional. And before, I mean, quite frankly, before you even type any more replies, I would just get yourself an attorney and, you know, call 3 or 4 of them today. And then, you know, again, this is just a little bump in the road. Just long term, you're going to need one of these attorneys anyway. So Michelle wrote, all right, Michelle, or just M. There's chatter about Amazon cracking down on suspicious reviews. Oh, really? There's been chatter about this for a year and a half. This is nothing new, Michelle. They don't like Amazon, meaning Amazon. Amazon doesn't like what they perceive as spam reviews. Okay, so in 2016, August 2016, I believe, Amazon came out saying if you do any incentivized reviews, meaning I'll give you this product for 90% off in exchange for leaving me a review. They said, if you do that and we catch you, we'll throw you off Amazon, okay? Because they view those reviews as biased. If you just give away a product at a steep discount, that's not, I mean, you can do what you want. Amazon doesn't care. And a percentage of those people naturally, organically, and statistically are going to leave you a review. But just as long as you absolutely have nothing in your promotion that says in exchange for a review, because that is, they've expressly said that's prohibited. So you can't do that, right? So you can't do that. Now, if you're concerned about reviews coming in faster than similar products, I am convinced there's some type of algorithm that they have. And from my experience, they will rarely just flat out ban you, but they just won't allow all those reviews to be posted. They also don't allow most steep discount reviews to be posted. Okay, so some people confuse a ranking strategy with the way to get reviews. Well, ranking is one thing, getting reviews is something else. And in my opinion, the preeminent, most important thing is getting ranked. Because if you're on page 3, you might as well be on page 300, right? You can, somebody asked me about getting an NDA for a factory and all this stuff. Well, you can have the greatest, most unique product on planet Earth. You can have the greatest images, title, listing copy, bullets. But if they can't find your freaking product because you're not a master of ranking, it's all irrelevant, guys, right? So absolutely you need a certain base of reviews, but I don't know, you guys obsess about reviews way, way more than I ever did. I never was the type who thought I need 1,000 reviews and oh my God, all my competition has 1,000 reviews and I don't, how am I going to compete? The way I compete is I outrank them, I outmarket them. I have better copy. I'm more adaptable. I use Splitly to split test my price. All that stuff I teach in Fast Track, that's where the money is. I mean, honestly, if you do a good job, and remember, I go after the impulse buyer, once you get into triple digits on your reviews, meaning like when you go from like 20 reviews to over 100, so triple digits, right, 3 digits, anything, so this arguably does, this is kind of the first and most challenging ground you have to cover with a new product, right? Going from 20 to 100, that does impact your conversion rate, okay, like this. However, going from 100 to 500, maybe a little bit, I mean, barely. So I find that anything over triple digit, don't even stress about, because once you get into that triple digit, it's like a head pat, right? Most people don't want to make a mistake. So if they see, oh, there's 100 and blah, blah, blah reviews, in their minds, 100 and blah, blah, blah reviews versus 200 and blah, blah, blah reviews, it's almost the same number to the impulse buyer. They're just checking to make sure that there's enough social proof to validate this purchase. And most impulse purchasers, most people on Amazon, they just scan the first 3 to 4 like reviews anyway. Only the analytical will sit there and do a deep dive and click see more and read like 10 reviews in a row. That's not my market anyway. I'll let everybody else get those slow buyers. I want the impulse buyer. So we use coupons, we use great bullet points, we use the vernacular of the market in our copy, we use images that are like a TV commercial storyboard, we weave in all of the keywords, all the single words, we make sure the listing is optimized and indexed, we split test the price, blah, 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 blah. That's the stuff that matters, right? So anyway, to go back to your question here, so Michelle says, would you recommend adjusting an initial review effort in light of this recent crackdown effort? Well, give this some teeth. Like, what do you mean by an initial review effort? Do you mean just reaching out and just having 15 friends and family that are spread out in different IP addresses? I wouldn't worry about that number. But if you're talking 20 a day rolling in for a brand new product, that's going to trigger something. And from my experience, it's almost always automated, some kind of algorithm. Amazon has it wired now. Again, they don't reveal this. I don't have enough data on it, but because we don't do that kind of review pushes, we almost always just let them happen organically beyond. I mean, we don't even ask for reviews anymore. We have our deal club members. Look, guys, this is like tackling and blocking. This is not new stuff. I've been talking about this stuff for 5 years now. We have our deal club. We send out an email blast to them announcing that there's this new product. Go buy it at this steep discount, and a certain percentage just naturally leave a review. I don't even have to ask. I actually have verbiage in those emails saying, this discount is not tied to you having to leave a review at all. I actually put it in writing. And just naturally, though, a certain percentage of people are super pumped up and blah, blah, blah. Now, if you're not getting any people to leave a review, then you can individually reach out to some deal club members and say, hey, this would mean a lot to us, and we hope you're enjoying this, and this is a new product, and we love your unbiased review. This has nothing to do with you getting the discount, blah, blah, blah. And you can gently push that way. All right. All right, cool, Tim. Okay, so Victor has a question for me here. Say you're launching a new product, says Victor, and you have 10,000 initial marketing budget. Okay, that's a lot actually. Okay. Considering Amazon environment, how would you spend those dollars? He's got packaging design. Here, let's just write these down. Whoop. We got packaging design. We got images. So, photography. Copywriting. PPC. Facebook ads, sponsored ads, etc. This is his list, by the way. What would you change if the budget was doubled? Okay, number one, don't double your budget. I know you're a successful entrepreneur, and I know you could easily double it. Don't, because when you have money, it's easy to use that money like a bulldozer. You just shovel money at it. You almost want to go back into that scarcity startup mindset on purpose. So for package design, I use 99 Designs, but I get a lot of mileage when I do this. But you're going to probably spend, let's say, I'm guessing high, under $800. But from that, I often can get the basis for a logo. Not always. I get the fonts. Before I award that design, I say, hey, if I award you, I'm considering, I'm not sure if I'm going to award this to you, but if I do, can you provide 3D renderings at no additional cost, blah, blah, blah. So you just work these graphic designers. It's classic Robert Cialdini. They have baby stepped all these commitment steps with you. You've gone back and forth on 99 Designs. Damn it, they want to win. And so they're very vulnerable for all these freebies. And I get as many freebies as I can within reason. And then you also have the added benefit is now I have a graphic designer. I found some fantastic graphic designers, some of which I still use to this day, that I just take off of 99 Designs and I work with them privately. So that's $800. Images and photos, $0. You're going to do this yourself. Okay? So that's no cost. Okay, copywriting, $0. because you're going to do that yourself. Yes, I know you could hire somebody, Victor. I could have too, but you need to learn this and just do it yourself. In my opinion, I would just do it yourself. PPC, skip that. Sponsored ads, okay, that is covered in, okay, so in the fast track, bonuses that we gave you access to when you join fast track, you know, in the new membership dashboard there, you'll find a separate thing called fast track bonuses. There's something called the Amazon sponsored ads money machine, and I actually give you the budget to use when you're in launch mode. But you can even go high on that and say, I'm going to do, okay, now make sure you hear me, but you could say, I'm going to do $300 a day, but you won't go through that, okay? So max for a brand new product, I'm guessing 500 a week, max. But remember, that's not going to be just like flushing money down the toilet. Even if you on purpose lose money just to gain traction, you might actually, of that 500, you might be a net loss of 250. Okay, so let's say that's for 2 months. That'd be $2,000 total loss. Let me just get rid of all this. So that'd be $2,000, and you're lucky if they'll put you know, if they'll go through $500 a week. You want them to, because that means your product's selling. So far we're only up to $2,800. Facebook ads, those would come into play if you're using the Launchpad or one of the ClickFunnels templates. Okay, max, you're probably talking, I'm gonna go really, really high. Let's say you screw it up, it takes you a lot of stops and starts. That's $1,000. Okay, so you have you have $3,800. Mind you, this is like max. Okay, this probably won't be that high, and this probably won't be that high. In fact, these will probably be half of that. Okay, and then you probably have 3,000 for inventory. So you're all in, you're like $6,800. Isn't that marvelous? Can you think of any business on earth you can launch for 6,800 all in? And keep in mind, you'll have an asset. So you're building an asset here, right? You have an asset here because once you have the foundation for your look, you just go back to this guy, you can pay him a fraction of that. 6,800 all in. And again, this is kind of worst case scenario, and I'm sure I forgot little expenses here and there, but you know, I still look at, you know, franchises and real estate and businesses and taking large positions in certain Chinese suppliers and things like this. All that stuff is so damn capital intensive compared to what we can do in this business. It's a almost like a modern miracle of a capitalism, what Jeff Bezos has invented. That's our worst case scenario. I mean, I know guys that will buy $6,800 worth of options in a day, and they lose it and they don't blink an eye, and their upside's only maybe 10 to 15% for a short-term options trade, right? I mean, guys, I like to remind you how amazing and remarkable this business is, okay? Let's say that you blow this budget, it's a failure. Let's say you do it twice. Now you got 14K all in, the second product works, and now you're averaging $10,000 a month. You've just recouped your capital after 90 days. I mean, name me a business that lets you fail twice or fail once, and then you know, succeed the second time. And again, these are bigger budgets than you'll probably have to deal with. And within 90 or 120 days, you're already at a cash flow. I can't think of a business on earth that allows that. It puts a Cheshire cat grin on my face. The financial dynamics of this business. All right. Dr. Durham says, is it doing a coupon stack? Is that part of the essentials? Oh, hell yeah. If I ever see a fast tracker without a coupon stack, I'll do something to you. I don't know what. I'll wag my finger and yell at you, and I'll put you in the corner, like with the dunce cap, all right? Because look, look how hard it is. I mean, it's prime real estate, right? And look how hard it is to find anybody. I'm just gonna, here, let me do garlic press. So I don't know what I'm gonna get here, but we'll skip the sponsored ads. Let's open up this, 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 and this. So the top four, this is a very competitive, it's also kind of a, commoditized. So I absolutely 100% would fill my coupon stack if it was something this generic. I mean, look, this and this are identical. It's even the same freaking image. So it's very competitive, right? This is the same damn one too. It's just face down. You can even tell it has a little ridges. So a lot of people not being real creative with this. So let's see if they're at least using a coupon stack. The first one, no. I mean, are you kidding me? Why? I mean, this kills me. It takes 2 seconds to set this up. Not 2 seconds. It takes 15 minutes to set this up one time, and it increases your average unit of sale. We have coupon stacks in all of our listings, even where it doesn't ostensibly make sense. Like you're not going to buy, like let's say you had a dog leash, you're not going to buy 8 dog leashes at once, and yet people do. Why? I don't know why. Maybe they are resellers on eBay. Maybe they have a dog leash fetish. Who knows? I mean, right? But they just do. Maybe they're having a party, and like I give you an example. So we're part of a mixed doubles group, and like one couple is in charge of throwing like a mini party and keeping scores, and we always give some gag gift at the end. Well, so we played this game called Pickle, and my wife went on Amazon and she ordered like, I don't know, like a dozen of these pickles, and they were like pickle necklaces. Now, look, there's just lots of weird things like that people will do for reasons that, like, I don't need to know, I don't care, but like, okay, so super competitive, failed. Let's see the number 2 one. Failed. This drives me crazy. Well, OXO, they're not going to have anything. Failed. So the top 3 in a super competitive thing, they all failed this simple test. I have a good feeling about this one, right? This could be a customer, because look, they're using this coupon thing here, which is smart. They've good images. I haven't even looked at them. I can just tell they're good story type images. They have my sort of format where you put a where you highlight each bullet with caps. So I have a feeling, again, without even looking yet, that this person who's probably a fast tracker has them. Let's see. Ding, ding, ding. See? You can tell when they're a good operator. Say 15% on each garlic press when you purchase 2 or more. Great job. Save 20% on yada yada when you purchase our garlic press. So that's an upsell or a cross sell. Click this coupon. So good job. But 1 out of 4, I mean, look, and it goes on and on. You can tell a good operator. They do it right. Look at these, 551 reviews, perfect 5 stars. I bet they're on top of their Q&A stat, because it says 15 answered questions. Let's go down here. Let's see if they have replied. Yep, they did. You can tell, look, they've responded in every instance. This has got to be a fast tracker. This is an operator. This is how you run. This is how you compete. Hi, thanks for your question. Very upbeat. Yes, it really is. Thanks for your question. Blah, blah, blah. This is fantastic. This is, okay, so look, this is one of these things where the skeptical person goes, but Ben, I mean, really, how important is this? It's not that this by itself is important, but when you stack all of the strategic advantages together, it's like compound interest. It has a compound effect. What does this tell you? You're like, oh, this makes me feel good as a consumer. They are manning the till in their restaurant, so to speak. Right? I think I told you the story. We were considering staying at a hotel on a recent trip to Mallorca, Spain. I don't know. I've never been there. You see great pictures, but it can be misleading. And we went on TripAdvisor, and this one hotel in the town of Dea, the manager or the assistant manager responded to virtually every inquiry, every complaint, every positive thing. You know what that told me? These people are on the ball. Like, they're gonna take care of my issue if I have an issue at this hotel. And we booked it, and it was a fantastic hotel. This is kind of that same impact. Let's take a look at their reviews. Yep, they're doing everything right, guys. They have user-generated photos. Who knows if that's from their great uncle in Sheboygan? Who knows? Who cares? It's there. Okay. And yeah. So, isn't that interesting? So you'll find this, and again, I didn't look at this in advance and blah 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 blah, but you'll find this, it's that classic thing of success leaves clues. You will find that that an operator is an operator is an operator, but the rest of the market, they're asleep, right? Let's look at their images here. So first of all, it's a good image. Would you agree? I think it's one of the best images I saw. Let's take a look. Okay, of these images, that's not a bad image. I want to slam them because they're using the exact same angle as this guy, but I got to admit there's at least some action going on. This is probably the same damn garlic press because you can see how it's laid on the side. So that annoys me. Like, at least get a little creative like this guy did. They all have this roly thing, but he added a black box, black this, and some other thingy. And it just, again, impulse purchaser wise, doesn't this kind of pop being all black? So sometimes I'll just look at like the competition and I'll just kind of take it in. I'll see just naturally, like, don't overthink this. Where does my eye go? Okay. Where's your eye go? My eye definitely doesn't go here. But anyway, interesting, right? And in rank number 4, look at only person that is using that. This doesn't count because that's an ad, but these little things add up. They stack. Okay. All right. See how you got me on a tirade there, Dr. Durham? Victor says, why nothing for a professional photography? Because if you have an iPhone, you can do it yourself. Good enough is good enough when you're launching. I oftentimes show the measuring spoon photos that I took. I used, let's see if I can find this product photography. I can't seem to find the product photography box that I got anymore. But I mean, look, you can get this product photography box for a whopping $14. I wouldn't suggest it, but I think mine was, okay, this is interesting. Even Amazon's getting into it. This looks fantastic. So for $135 once and an iPhone, good enough, right? Remember when Dan Kennedy said, good enough is good enough. Good enough when you're just launching. Again, you have to almost wear the hat. See, money is people that don't have money think and they daydream, if only I had money, I could be more successful on Amazon. I have the opposite point of view. I know far more people that have money that can't make Amazon work because they're throwing money at it. And they choose not, I'm not saying this is you, Victor, but they choose not to learn it because they can just hire a copywriter for $1,000. They can spend $1,500 on a pro local photographer and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean your product going to launch any better than the guy who has like the ghetto photo studio in their basement, who's using their iPhone, who's slaving over the copy using my Ben Cummings copywriting system, who's, there's something in the universe that says when you try harder, blood, sweat, and tears kind of approach, not only do you learn more, you have more pride in it, it tends to work out, at least from my experience. The one, not every case, but the ones where I just throw money at it and hey, I'm going to handle this as an executive, it just doesn't work. I don't know why, you know. Now, mind you, I have at this point I have developed good photographers that I do have trust in. But in the early days, I had to learn this stuff all myself. It's how I got great at it. And I do have graphic designers, but now I know enough because I had to do it, like guerrilla style, old school, you know, guerrilla warfare kind of style. Eric has a how to negotiate question, which I always love. I love negotiating. People say, Ben, how'd you get like good at this, or like where'd you get your instincts? Um, you guys might remember, I don't talk about it a lot, but when I was in college, I went to UB, the University of Buffalo, which I'd not recommend. It's a great college. It's a good Division I college. They have one of the best business programs in New York. Well, for a public SUNY school, but it is so damn big and soulless that it's not like a warm and fuzzy kind of university. At least in my opinion. I know other people don't share my view, but I was a junior in college. I'd gotten accepted into their school of management. They make you almost reapply. It was very, very hard to get into, believe it or not, even as an undergrad. And it's a really, really good program. And I was sitting there listening to a finance professor. I was so fed up with the BS and the hypothetical. And I sat there as an arrogant kid. I wasn't arrogant, but I mean, in my mind, I was arrogant. I said, I bet this guy's so full of crap. He's talking theory. I bet this guy's never made a dime actually in finance, actually like doing a deal. And I remember exactly where I was when I thought this. I said, screw this. I'm not going to just keep my nose in a textbook. I'm going to go out there and do deals. And my goal is in 1 year to make more than his professor made. How's that for a goal? As you can tell, he wasn't the greatest, most enthusiastic professor on earth, right? But thank God he was horrible, because my junior year, while still going and taking all my classes, I wanted to buy real estate. And within 1 year, with no money, I know I sound like an infomercial, but it's true. Within 1 year, I bought 12 apartment buildings. Okay. Some big, real big, and some small. And I had no money. Well, guess what? I had to figure out contract law on my own. I had to figure out how to creatively write real estate contracts, such as, I would have all these contingencies in there saying, seller will pay all closing costs, kind of no money. There were no money down deals, language in ways where I would say, no, it's not no money down, but I'm going to spread out your down payment over 12 months. Same thing. But now, would I have a lot of people that would do it? No, but the don't wanters would. And so I would, some of you remember the story, but I just went for blunt force. And I had 3 or 4 real estate agents that were young and hungry like me. And I said, I'm going to write, I can't remember what it was, 10 to 12 real estate offers per week, sight unseen, with the contingency subject to my partner's approval. If they accept my outrageous terms, then we'll hustle up, we'll go over there, then we'll do the inspection. And it worked. It worked. And this is in very conservative upstate New York under outrageous terms. But I wanted the guys that were so fed up, they just couldn't sell, and they were dangling the keys. Now, by dumb luck, when I did this, it was a buyer's market. This was in like 90 through 93, which if you guys might remember, it was a savings and loans crisis when all these savings and loans were going broke. So I actually had to deal with Citibank, the big company. As a kid, they would allow me to buy their inner city properties, no money down. Citibank with no credit, age like whatever I was, 20, 21. So even big institutions can quickly become don't wanters when the economic conditions change. But that's how I learned how to negotiate. Face to face, belly to belly, scared kid with big goals. That's how I pull it off. And so one of the earliest books I read was Trump's Art of the Deal. And this is why I constantly keep saying the guy knows how to make deals. His book was called Art of the Deal. And it's right in there, his formula, which I guarantee China has read, by the way. I don't think Canada has, but China has, right? So anyway, his question about negotiating, sorry for my tangent, but I always like to know sometimes when the, how the teacher got there, sharpened their skills. His question is dealing with U.S. suppliers. Okay. Is it tougher or the same to negotiate with U.S. suppliers versus India, which, by the way, a lot of you don't consider, but you really should look at India, soon to be Vietnam? You guys do understand that China is now too prosperous to do things like clothes, and like that little made in China tag is a farce. A lot of the Chinese factories are now outsourcing it to Vietnam, right? A lot of the clothes might say made in China, they're actually made in Bangladesh now. Well, I mean, I think if I can't remember what the international rule is, if like whatever percent, if it's made in that country, they have to say made there, but and in China. But China is a very interesting country, and I'm going to go off on another side tangent, and I'm going to circle back. Don't worry, but I'm going to tell you something about China, just so that you guys are very, very aware. Americans think China is like China from 1990. They think nobody has cars. There's poverty in the streets. They think they're kind of butt backwards. They picture factories where there's like 8-year-old kids in diapers that are putting together your garlic press. That is an American point of view that's false. Shanghai and Beijing are far more modern than any American city. Anybody who's been on their high-speed train will tell you there's no homeless. It doesn't smell like urine. There's no beggars. It runs on time. It runs unbelievably efficiently, and it's better than anything we've ever ridden in the States or Europe. And by the way, I'm a proud American, but I'm just telling you the reality of China. When I went to Yiwu, and some of you, Yiwu, there you go. Some of you that have been there can attest to this. I was with my translator. I walked out the back door, I guess, where you can kind of see the parking lot area. I stopped my translator and I said, hold on a second, where are we? They're like, oh, this is just parking lot. And it was the kind of the back parking lot area of one of whatever, 6 buildings, right, in Yiwu. I don't know what you saw, but I'll tell you what I saw. Packed into the parking lot. I saw BMWs. I saw Audis. I saw Porsches. I saw Mercedes. And I saw, normal cars too. But I saw a ton of luxury vehicles. These are not people that drove them in from California. These are people in podunk Yiwu. And anybody who's traveled to China will tell you that the cities are modern, it's transformed. So here's where I'm going with this. Don't think that somehow China is backwoods and Ben's, whole like negotiating tactic only works if they're from the backwoods of China. No, what I'm saying is they don't need the deal either. So U.S. suppliers and Chinese suppliers, they are both prosperous now. By the way, you won't find homeless people in Beijing and Shanghai. And I'll tell you why. Okay, you want to know why? They put them to work. Newsflash, maybe we should do that here in America. They make them clean the streets. That's pretty smart, right? So, it gives them pride. And it's also interesting about the Chinese mentality. You've heard about these ghost cities, right? These big cities, all these apartments and blah, blah, blah that they'll build in the middle of nowhere. Like China just says, we're going to make this region, this city, a major economic center. So they just start building a city. There's no people there. And then they announce in the nearby rural area, they say, all of you have 30 days to move to this big city. Now, the Chinese mentality is, hey, we trust our government. This is a good thing. We're all going to move. I mean, can you imagine that happening in America? It's not going to happen. There'd be pitchforks. There'd be gun battles. It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. But The Chinese, it's in their psyche. It's a command and control economy. So they all move in, and it is an upgrade because they're very poor in the rural areas still. But now they're filling in these factories, these buildings, and now all of these centers are becoming economic powerhouses. China's doing very interesting things because they are a command and control economy that nobody in the West could ever pull off because our time frame's too short. I mean, in America, you're talking 4 years with the president. So China, in this whole negotiation, this will be interesting to see how this plays out. They just got to wait out Trump. They tend to play the long game, right? Anyway, here's my point. I use all of the tactics I teach you guys. It's all spelled out with our U.S. suppliers, and it works just as well as with the Chinese suppliers. It is not a like, oh, this only works in one country and not the other. It is more an issue of how badly do they want your business, okay? I have found, as a general rule of thumb, the Chinese are far more, sad to say, entrepreneurial in terms of money hungry for the business than our US counterparts. If you are a small fish, I found a lot of US suppliers, they just don't want to play ball. They won't even call me back, okay? Which is sad and frankly pathetic, right? Because the quote small fish can be, 5 years, their hugest client. But the Chinese, they're not scared of developing a small relationship that can turn into a big relationship. So the negotiating tactics work. The hunger level of how bad they want the business varies depending on industry norm. And there are industry norms in America that are different than industry norms in India, China, Vietnam, okay? Hope that makes sense. So there's a long way of saying you're gonna have to contact far more US suppliers that will play ball for your MOQ, okay? So Victor says, what about lifestyle images? Yeah, so I've done lifestyle images with my iPhone, right, in my kitchen or outside or whatever. It's the same deal. I mean, you can go high end without a doubt. I have. I hired well, I won't divulge who it was, but basically somebody from the Miss USA pageant to model with some of our product. Was it worth it? Probably not. Not at all, probably. I could have picked, my next door neighbor, Sally, and said, hey, would you me a favor? We just stand next to this nice rose bush and hold this product. I mean, I just don't know how far it goes, but it does have to be a good marketing picture. Like, in other words, I don't think they care if it is, the most professional yada yada picture on planet Earth. What I do think they care about, what's far more persuasive, even if it's a little more ghetto, meaning like it's not super glossy and super professional, they care more about the marketing story told in those images. At least that's been my experience, bar none. All right, I'm gonna bounce over to, yeah, and Dawson's great, by the way. Yep, I agree. In fact, I might reread that. Okay, so Wayne from New Zealand, he wrote sort of a long question. The short answer is, dude, just use the Launchpad for that. I mean, that's why we have it. It's super easy. I'm just reading the question here, guys. Just give me a quick second. Okay, so Mark Passe said, Ben, love your inventory management section. He's referring to the inventory management templates and spreadsheet that we taught last week. Yeah, I thought that was an awesome segment because this is like our actual templates that we load into Text Expander and stuff like that. In the inventory management section, you told us how to take care of managing inventory from a third-party warehouse to FBA. How do you deal with managing how much to order and when to order the larger C shipments ordered from the manufacturer? Okay, so what we do now is, okay, so he wants to know, he gets how we do our just-in-time. I call it the just-in-time, like the caveman just-in-time system, where we ship from our third-party warehouse to FBA with approximately, roughly 4 weeks max of inventory. So the way we calculate that, and trust me, I'm going to answer your question. The way we calculate that, you might remember, is we go into our FBA account and we see how many units is fulfillable. Like, in other words, how many right now is in inventory or counted as inventory at an Amazon warehouse. And then we look at our 2-week average sales in Managed by Stats. And then we plug those things into a spreadsheet. And I won't reteach that, but that's how that works. We do a similar thing for inventory reorders in general. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to give you this when you have history for that product. So let's say you have 1 year history. The longer, the better, obviously. We look at, like, so for example, when we're running low on our inventory, and we do have another spreadsheet that I didn't show, I guess I can show this in the future if you guys want, that allows us to basically do this kind of system up here, but shows us when we need to reorder. And part of it is let's say that we're getting low on our inventory, and again, it's kind of like a derivative of this kind of system. Let's say we're getting low on our inventory, and let's say it's March. I get the email, hey Ben, it's probably time to order more whatever dog leashes. I'd like to propose we order 5,000 units because based on our average selling history from, now watch this, it's March. We know it's going to take 2 months to get in. Our average selling history from May to yada yada, August, is X number of units. Therefore, this is why I'm proposing we order Y. I'm really dumbing it down, but you get the point here. So basically, remember how I said to estimate how many units we send in from our third-party warehouse and FBA? Like, part of the calculation is we look at our last 2 week sales. Well, we go into either Managed by Stats. You can do this also in Seller Central. You look back and say, historically, for that time frame or that month or that time period, how many units do we historically sell? Now, if you have a brand new product, that's a different issue. There's no way to really accurately predict this, okay? So for a brand new product, we order, okay, so I've taught at least 2 times to you guys now using Helium-10 how I predict how many number of units we'll need to quote unquote give away to rank a product. So let's call that X. And then I also want some inventory in there for once we're ranking and when we turn on sponsored ads. So let's call that Y. So X being, I can't remember what he calls it, the CPR total. I think he calls it CPR, like total number of giveaways. Now remember, I do mine differently. I take his number, multiply it by 2, and then divide by 14 days to come up with a per day thing. I just taught this, so if you didn't watch Thursday's webinar, then go watch that. So that's X. But then I want to tack on some additional once we start taking off, because we're going to now be ranking, because we use the AMZ Launchpad, we use the Gazelle strategy, we're dumping our long tail keywords in there, we're ranking for all these, let's call them base hits, but when you have 20, 30 base hits, they add up. And so this will be, again, a rough guesstimate. Y depends. If I have a product that has very fast turnaround from the factory, maybe in the early days, I'm only going to air express that because we're getting some traction and we're still talking small units. Okay. So with Air Express, with the 2 week turnaround, I don't have to order as much. if it's a big product, expensive product, et cetera, Y might have to be way more because it might be 2-month turnaround plus ocean freight. So my Y number is going to be bigger. And that's how I estimate for a brand new product how many to bring in. I know it's tough when I talk hypotheticals, but you guys know what I'm saying here, I'm sure. Mike, I don't know the best way to do that, quite honestly. Sorry. So this is Mike Daly. I've never had to do that, and I don't want to screw you up here. So Anshik Jasani from Canada wrote, using your pigs and hops method, your most recent one, I found 5 products in completely different categories and planning to source and launch them under an open brand since each product has a gift-giving aspect to it. In this case, do you recommend launching an open brand with products in different unrelated categories but having a gift-giving aspect to it? I haven't really talked about the gift-giving aspect to it, and I don't think that has to be one of your criteria. It seems to be one that you want to make your criteria. That's fine. I mean, I guess you could try that out. But I haven't, I mean, look, if somebody needs rat traps, just because no one's ever going to give it as a gift, does that mean it's not going to make a great product? Or like a pest thing that you plug in a wall? I mean, those aren't given as gifts, but they make fantastic products. Again, in theory, I haven't run it through pigs and hops, but you understand what I'm saying. So I wouldn't limit yourself to the gift giving aspect. You know, so be careful of telling yourself that narrative that, oh, that's given me an edge. I don't know that it is. So just be careful with that. That's all, because you don't want to limit yourself, because you know you might find a boring, ignored, unwanted, unloved by other sellers type of product. I love those type of products, by the way, where they're just not desirable to other sellers. They're unwanted, unloved. They don't have the sex appeal. Those can make you a lot of money, a lot of money. Why? Well, the reason is because they're quote unquote boring. But last time I checked, when I deposit my money at the bank teller doesn't say, excuse me, before we accept your money, we have to know, did you make this money doing something sexy and exciting, or did you do it from boring? Money's money. They don't care, right? So yeah. But yeah, I'm fine with you just testing 5 different diverse categories and seeing which kind of sticks to the wall. And then what I'd recommend you do strongly is if you're finding there's some real traction to 1 or 2, then consider planting your flag and building a brand around those niches, because a specialist always makes more, generally speaking, than the generalist. The brain surgeon is going to out earn by 10 times the general family practitioner. I always talk about the guy named John Arriaga, who is a billionaire, who specializes in real estate 1 mile radius around Stanford in California. 1 mile radius, he became a billionaire. Not a specialist for California, not a specialist in a county or a city or a neighborhood, but 1 mile radius around Stanford University. Billionaire. Then that's because the specialist makes more money. The reason you guys are making so much money is because you're specialist in e-commerce. In what? Amazon. You're Amazon specialist. The specialist will almost always out earn the generalist by a factor of 10 times, sometimes far more than that, by the way. So that's why I love to plant your flag as a strategic maneuver. Once you find you're getting some traction for a product, in the early days, admittedly, and you might not know where you want to plant your flag. That's fine. So you test some various products. But once you start getting traction, especially if you think you have an affinity or a liking towards that particular niche, I go all in on that because there is riches in niches. I'm sure you've heard that saying. And you get to learn the vernacular of that market. You become more efficient. Your gut instincts as an entrepreneur improve over time because you understand the scope of the products out there. It narrows your focus on trade shows you need to attend. You start talking to people in the industries, and then you evolve to being able to even predict in 2-3 years what's going to be a home run, so that you can so you can front run that on Amazon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So many benefits to the specialist versus generalist. Now, that being said, I will reluctantly admit I have clients that take more of the general store approach, and they do very, very well, okay? But I personally have found them to generally look and appear more exhausted, have more issues, have more supplier issues. So I'm definitely biased towards becoming a specialist, narrowing my focus, getting to know and working with a small group of suppliers that can manufacture multiple items in that same genre, etc. I just find it far more efficient. Like Warren Buffett says, Warren Buffett, if you go into his office, he has a box that is labeled "too hard," and he's looking for any excuse to put a project, a 10K, a business proposal, a deal into the too hard box. He wants laydowns. He wants to shoot fish in a barrel. He doesn't want to leap over 6 foot. He doesn't want to pole vault, over 6 foot high things. He wanted 6 inches high. So too hard in my mind is wading into numerous niches I know nothing about, don't know how to write copy for. It goes on and on and on. The dispersion of the focus that occurs when you have to do that. But again, I must admit, as your teacher or coach or whatever, that I do have clients that have very successfully pulled that off. But I think it's much harder to do, in my opinion. Mike Stevens, let's add Mike's name to the top here. Mike Stevens wrote, Ben, would you get rid of a product that is a dud product, but still makes a profit, albeit a small one, if that product is a complementary product to the line of products you're trying to create? I would not get rid of it, because the verbiage you used, he used, if it's a complementary product to the line of products I am trying to create. So that tells me that it might be a current dud only because it hasn't attached itself to a superstar product yet. Meaning, so I'm sure you've seen a frequently bought together boxes on Amazon. If you have a complementary product, let's use C for that, your quote unquote workhorse products, the home run products, let's do H for home run, these are going to be your money earners. And I find that these products are like, as these shoot up, sales rank, they tend to tether the underperformers with them. So you might have one that right now is like, not real excited about it. But in a year and a half, you might tell me, you know what? My dud product just became a good passive income earner. It's making me $2,000 to $3,000 a month net profit. I do no work for it. And it's only because it complements these other products. So these customers see it in the frequently bought together box, or I know this is shocking to us because on Amazon, we feel small and like we're nobodies, but these people view our brands as real legitimate brands. Oftentimes, if they like it, they'll go back on Amazon, they'll search for your brand, see what else you have, and I'll buy this, that was pretty cool. It seems to complement the product. So I wouldn't give up on it just yet. I wouldn't put a lot of money into it yet if you know the market potential isn't there. But if you know that it could be there in a year, year and a half, once you develop your main products, your workhorse anchor products, then I think it's worthwhile. So Tim and Mark, they both would like me to share on an upcoming fast track our process for when we know to reorder products. Yeah, let me make a note of that. If I don't write it down now, I will forget between now and when we end. So let me just add it to my journal here. Fast track July. Reorder process and spreadsheet. Okay, done. So Ashley Etov wrote, do you know if we can change the brand name of a product later on if we cannot trademark the name because it's too long or it's not a one-word name? Do you have any recommendations on picking the brand names? Thanks a lot. So when you say changing the brand name, I need some more information from you. Do you just mean like the seller name that you're using? Like in other words, like this right here is the seller name, Square Perfect. See that right there? But if you're only using the quote brand name in the title kind of temporarily, like let's say this didn't say Square Perfect. Let's say it was Insane Product Photography Box, and that's like your temporary brand name. Yeah, all you gotta do is just swap that out of the title, and you can also edit this as well. The whoops, I keep changing the color here. I don't know how to do that. They call this the seller name. You can even edit this. So yeah, it's very, very easy. Obviously, if you're gonna have the brand name imprinted on product packaging, then you'd have to first sell out that initial order, and then you just swap it out for your new brand name on the next reorder. Those are your three options. As far as any recommendations for how to come up with good brand names and product names, yeah, I do. Because I struggle with it too. It's really, really tough. At least I find it tough. So what I like to do here is we are going to put crowdsource brand names. Like I can never. I think it's it's not on here. I think it's like Name Force. Is that one? Name Force. Okay, Naming Force. And there's another one I can't remember. Let me just write alternatives to Naming Force. There's another one, crowd something. Oops. Helps if I get rid of these typos, doesn't it? Naming Force. What is the best crowdsourced name contest site? There's two. I can't remember the other one. Oh yeah, CrowdSpring. So Naming Force is one. So it works just like 99 Designs. For a small fee, you say, hey, I'm launching a dog leash. I need to come up with a really good brand name for my company. And you get like tons and tons of ideas and submissions, and then the one you like best, you award that one, okay? Crowdspring.com, I have never used this one, but I've heard it's really good. Crowdspring.com does the same thing as Naming Force. I don't know what this one is. This just came up in that search. It's called Squad Help. Okay? Like Bird and Sage. So that's a pretty cool name. I mean, some of these are horrendous, but anyway. Oh yeah, thanks, Mike. Lean domain is good. Lean domain, lean domain search. What would I do wrong here? Lean. I'm sucking at my Google searches today. Here we go. Find a great available domain name. So this isn't necessarily a way to find. Well, it's an indirect way to find cool brand names. So you type in like dog leash, just as an example, and it'll show you what domains are still available. So, I mean, believe it or dog leash news. So there you go, Victor. If you want to get rich starting a dog leash magazine, if you think there's a market for it, you can own dog leash news. Green means that these web domains are still available. It doesn't mean that somebody doesn't have a trademark on it already, though, just so you guys know. But it's just a good brainstorming tool. So let's see, Easy Dog Leash. Isn't that a great brand name? Easy Dog Blank. That's pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, thanks for those guys. Mark wrote, how long does it typically take for new back-end keywords like the Prime Day keywords? How long to get them indexed? Well, as long as it takes to save your listing, and typically the changes get realized in about 30 to 45 minutes. However, if your listing is locked or you think it's locked, what you can do is you just change one word in one of the bullets, then you amend or add the backend search terms, save, and the reason you just change one word in your bullet or your product description is that way you can see on the front facing, is your listing locked or are those changes being saved? If the listing is locked, don't get paranoid. It just means that your product has been selling well and that Amazon just wants more stability for those listings. So you just contact Amazon and you say, we need you to save the recent changes we made that better reflect the accuracy of our product. That's the verbiage you use. It better reflects the accuracy of our product. So it should be within 30 to 45 minutes after you save it, if it's in fact saving it, if you know what I mean. Donna says, is there any way to find out how many people have added one of our products to a wish list? I'm not sure about that. I've never looked into that. Okay, so we are out of questions. And let me just bring this up to conclude here. If you have not watched my session yet on the 72-hour work week, I just want to tease and titillate, as they say. This is some of what I talk about, these incredible epic images from my recent trip to Mallorca. And we talk about what I believe truly is one of the big new, dare I say, revolution? I hate using that term, but I think it's a complete revolution in the way that you guys are going to be using your time starting now and in the future. I think it's going to have such a profound impact on your lives, on your income, on your business, that I encourage everybody to go watch that segment where I detail the 72-hour work week. And I just always like to stress when I talk about this, well, I haven't talked about it for years, which is my point. This is not a new concept in the Ben Cummings world. This is a specific tactic we used to save and turn around dental and chiropractic offices. And to a person, everybody who adopted the 3-day work week went on to do unbelievable things in their practice, but it's so counterintuitive. And for some reason, I ignored this opportunity that we had for the 3-day work week in the Amazon space. I just hadn't made the connection as obvious as it would be sounding, but it works even better on Amazon as we're implementing this ourselves and playing with it and kind of massaging it into our lifestyles. And it is going to have a profound impact on you guys. So I just cannot recommend strongly enough, even if you already watched the Thursday's replay, go at least watch that segment again and again. Bring your spouse in, watch it with them, get their feedback, think about it, marinate on it, implement. Because this is now a new cornerstone concept, like the 80-20 rule is in fast track, like pigs and hops is in fast track. We're never going to leave this concept. It's going to be like start with the money thing first. Remember that? You guys got sick of that. I actually had somebody write in, Ben, quit talking about do the money thing first. And I'm like, really? I don't talk about it that much, but okay. But tough. Do the money thing first will get you rich, Doing this can get you not only rich monetarily, but a richness in your life, a richness with your family, the ability to become a human being again. There's a show that I would love you guys to watch. It'll be such a good counterpoint to this imagery, what I taught here, the 72-hour work week. I just watched it last night. We have Hulu, and there is a new Gordon Ramsay show. I can't remember what it's called. Gordon. It is called, there you go, what a name. It's called 24 Hours to Hell and Back. Must watch it. The first episode, the first episode of all these shows is usually like the most extreme. He goes to a town about an hour outside of New York where the owner is the atypical example of the burnt out entrepreneur, the overstressed entrepreneur. He's like literally lost his bleeping mind because he is so burnt and fried, and that will so bring to life what you can accomplish and how you can save yourself from that sort of lunacy as an entrepreneur with the 72-hour work week. So anyway, on behalf of myself, the whole team here at Fast Track, thanks again, guys, for your loyalty, for your enthusiasm. We have a great series that started this month that will be all summer and into the fall of just some amazing content, some breakthrough stuff operationally, marketing-wise. Just so much good stuff coming down the pike to you guys here next month and the months ahead, and I'm just dying to share it with you. So don't worry, we will be back in just a couple weeks with our next Fast Track training. If you haven't watched the one from Thursday, that's a must watch. Carve out some time this week to watch it. And then again, as I said, come invite the spouse to watch this segment as well with you and brainstorm how to implement this in your life. It'll have a profound impact. So until next time, this is Ben Cummings, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See ya.